that's kind of our mentality. The man's the head, the woman's the helper, which, I mean, we help each other out, but...
The man's the head, the woman's the neck. It
right.
turns the head where it wants to go, or where she wants to go. We haven't found the right time to jump, or, you know, the timing hasn't been right. And I get cold feet pretty easily about it. Because,
you know, if you jump into everything at once...
What's the analogy you use?
I'm the kite, he's the kite string.
Okay. I'm the one that holds her down.
When I had to have surgery, it forced me to slow down and to really, you know, think like, okay, this, you know, I don't want to push us too fast, you know, because when this really grows, Mike's going to be the one to do most of the work, because I have to make sure I focus on the kids and homeschooling them, because that's where I feel called to do.
All right, so we are at a really cool place in Ohio today with Katrina and Mike at the Narrow Road Homestead. And you guys have a really awesome place here where, like I was saying, it feels like an oasis, right? Like you're surrounded by row crop, you've got a lot of trees, it's nice and cool through here. How did you get started here doing this, being a homestead? Like what brought you to this kind of area, not just physically, but also in homesteading?
So it was back, well, we got married 11 years ago now. I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana originally. Okay. And Mike's from Defiance.
Defiance, Ohio.
Okay, yep. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So yeah, he got a job at Ford initially, and then that's what brought us down here physically.
Okay.
The whole homesteading lifestyle, we kind of started right away. We always, like, I always had dreams of kind of being self-sustaining in a way, and that has kind of turned into realizing, you know, it's hard to be self-sustaining, it's more being community sufficient.
Yeah, I love that you say that.
And it's like we have a wonderful community around us of neighbors that we just have met by getting out of our comfort zone. And we had a block party here a few years back, and that's how we met our good friends. You know, that's awesome. The long story short of that. So yeah, it's just kind of, we've learned a lot as we've gone. You know, you make mistakes, you have a lot of screw ups here and there. Yeah. And you just figure out what your niche is. Yeah. And I remember just being a kid, like, I guess what brought me to that mindset. I just remember being a kid hearing my grandma talk about her farm and how she was an only child, but she was always out, you know, working with the chickens, the cows, and I just kind of got mesmerized by that, you know, in a way. But, you know, I love my grandparents, you know, I've always looked up to them. And so that's kind of where that dream started as a young kid.
That's awesome.
And then just kind of grew into what we are now, and where I wanted to homeschool my kids. So be a stay-at-home mom, homeschool my kids was always my next goal, because my mom homeschooled us when I was third grade on, and then my sister as well. And we have 4 older brothers, but she says she never got the courage until it was us. That's when it was still kind of weird, you know?
Yeah, right.
Now it seems so almost normal. Mainstream.
Yeah.
It's a lot more normal now.
Yeah.
So you talked about like how you got started. Let's walk out here and we'll see some of the livestock that you have. So tell me a little bit about what you have on your property now as far as livestock and plants and stuff go, and how did you transform into those? You said, you know, you made a lot of mistakes and things like that. So how did you get here?
So first we started with our garden and our plants, which those are behind us.
Planted
and our
fruit trees right away. So
okay.
You know, they take years to establish and produce fruit. So we got ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And we got ahead of the price gouge.
Oh yeah.
Fruit trees are like 3 times as much as what we paid for them.
Oh my goodness.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, easily that. Yeah.
Animal-wise, we have pasture-raised chicken, turkey, pigs out here in the front, and we didn't actually start raising animals until 2020.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we always wanted to, but
it was 2019.
It was.
I
think we started talking more.
We might have got our first chickens like the fall before COVID started.
Why did it take so long?
I was always hesitant.
Why?
She was always the one pushing.
Yeah.
I never thought we were ready. And it's kind of like you never think you're ready until you just jump in and do it, right?
Yeah, it's almost like newlyweds saying like, oh, at this point, then we'll be ready to have kids.
Oh,
like, you're never really ready. You just have them, and they just show up.
Kids.
Yeah,
right.
It's kind of like how it is with livestock. Katrina, you said that you had your grandparents with a homestead, but Mike, did you grow up with any sort of agriculture?
I actually grew up on a 100-acre farm up in Defiance.
Okay.
So when I was a little boy, Grandpa had Black Angus cows, a small herd, probably 30 head.
Okay, yeah.
So I grew up around them. I never really did anything with them. My brother had chickens, but again, it was never really what I was into.
Yeah.
I was into computer things and
Okay.
video games.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. No, I feel that.
Schoolwork. So.
So you guys feel like you really got the garden and the fruit trees kind of figured out before you branched out into the livestock side of it.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, in hindsight, him holding me back was really good. Because, you know, if you jump into everything at once.
What's the analogy you use?
I'm the kite, he's the kite string.
Okay.
I'm the one that holds her down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, I wanted to get a dairy cow, and then all of a sudden we found out we were pregnant with our 5th daughter. So it was a good thing that he held me down there, because that would have been a very bad
We would have gotten
situation.
this dairy cow right away, right when she was going to have this baby.
Yeah.
You know, you have to work together. You can't just go off of your own desires. You got to work together, talk about it, and just trust intuition, Holy Spirit saying, like, it's not the right time. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, you have to wait if you don't know why sometimes, but that's where, you know, I feel like that's why God gave you each other. You know, there's, you know, he gives you someone to bounce ideas off of. You know, there's strengths and weaknesses of both people that you just have to talk and trust.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I totally agree with that. So on camera here, we're starting a little backwards where you guys started with the vegetable stuff, and we might go back there in a bit. But right now we made it to your chicken tractors and your turkeys. Yep. So you've got just regular regular Salatin looking tractors with the dolly, and then open netting for the turkeys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Talk me through how you decided to use these certain systems. Are these the only systems you used, or have you like changed the systems that you've had as far as chicken tractors or open netting?
I would say our first broilers were raised inside. That was our kind of our trial to see what butchering chicken was really like.
Okay, so like inside a barn?
Yeah,
okay.
Inside our chicken coop there.
Okay.
Oh yeah, our Delaware ones, like
Delaware dual purpose.
Yeah, so it wasn't like meat birds. It was just.
But we also got a few Rangers that first year too, and tried out like half a dozen of those. Before we started getting ready to butcher these, we got forwarded a video from my brother-in-law, Joel Salatin, talking about how to butcher a chicken, and it's like that hour-long video of him at Homesteaders, I believe. So it's like, who's this Joel Salatin guy, right?
Yeah.
And you start looking him up, and then you go down the homesteading rabbit hole. And then you end up buying his book called Polyface Designs, which has this design in it.
Yep.
And
this seems smaller.
Mine is slightly modified. It's 8 by 10 because I had 10-foot boards.
Okay, yeah, yep.
When I ripped off my old deck from all of our housing projects, I had all that old deck board, so I didn't have to really buy anything for this. I think you'd be proud.
That is a great idea.
I had all the steel. I think the only thing I bought was the waters and maybe the netting.
That's awesome. So you started then with some heritage, it sounds like some different types of breeds.
Yeah.
But it looks like you've got Cornish cross and just the white breast.
We do have Cornish cross in this pen, and then we have Freedom Ranger color yields.
Okay.
In the other two.
Yeah. So these are primarily for you, right? Like you're not really selling these.
Actually, we'll sell probably 3/4 of these.
Okay.
Probably we'll save 40 of these for ourselves for the winter.
Okay.
And then we'll sell the remaining like 160.
Okay.
And we have pre-orders almost filled out for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's a really interesting question, and I think I'm going to dive into that a little bit later when we're not standing in the hot sun.
It's cool out. It's 85 in the middle of September.
Yeah, with corn sweat going on. No, so we'll talk about like the selling of it in a second, but as far as the breeds are concerned, why have you locked in on the breeds? Because I feel like I hear a bunch of polarizing things. Either you're all, meat breed, Cornish cross, white breast turkeys, or you're all heritage. What made you decide what you've decided here?
We've always just kind of gone back and forth between Cornish and Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, we have some people that like the Cornish more, so just kind of let the customers speak. But some people like the Rangers. I like the Rangers better. They're more flavorful.
The Rangers
they're smarter.
Yeah.
They have a brain.
They move much better in these style of tractors.
Yeah.
Than the Cornish. We've had a lot of leg problems, and I think they get tripped up, and then chickens that can't walk don't make it very far.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So, I mean, we're still fine tuning some things like, with
Sure.
that whole, back issue I had, we had to step back a little bit this year and we kind of did just two larger batches.
We did 2 larger batches. Well, we did 3.
Well, yeah.
I guess we did 100, and then what was the second batch?
It was 120, so the second batch.
120, and then this batch was 200.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's still like the most we've done in a year, but it's not scaled up to what I think we could do.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we just had to step back, reevaluate a little bit.
Yeah.
And, that'll be our winter discussion on what we're going to do next year. I've had a lot of interest. Really, the chicken went over well at the farmer's market this year.
So that first batch we did, we got butchered at a USDA facility.
Okay.
And got it pieced out so we could sell it off premises. And it actually went over really well. The only thing that didn't sell was drumsticks.
Which is surprising.
Believe it or not.
Right?
I love drumsticks.
I felt the exact same way. That is what we always use for our hot wings.
Yeah.
Was drumsticks. I'm like, why don't people, what? They always want the thigh.
Yeah.
And they definitely don't want the quarter. You put them together, no way.
No.
People won't buy those. I
Well,
felt the
we
same
didn't
way.
know.
We didn't quarter any, but
Yeah, we could never, we did quarters for a long time and they just did not sell. As soon as we parted them into thighs, everyone bought the thighs and we just kept the drumsticks for ourselves because
really,
nobody ever bought them.
It's so interesting knowing like how, what sells, what doesn't is so different than what you use for your own family. Like our kids love the drums.
Yep.
And
area dependent too, right? Like,
yeah.
I was in central Indiana, you guys over here, and what was this? This is Northwest Ohio. Yeah. So, I mean, people might be different too, I don't know. But
Yeah.
So what about the turkeys? Is this your first year for turkeys? Let's talk about turkeys.
this is actually the 3rd year.
This is your 3rd year for
The
turkeys?
first year, what we do 5?
Yeah, it was just for ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
5 for ourselves. No, 6, and they got entirely too big.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, we just waited until it was convenient for us to
okay.
butcher.
And raising a turkey to, what was it, 20 weeks?
Yeah, it's 20 weeks because it said 16 to 20 weeks was suggested, and yeah, the toms were 30 pounds dressed.
35 pounds dressed,
Wow.
and the females were 23 pounds, and they were all like right within a pound of each other.
Oh
between
my
male
gosh.
And female. So
Yeah.
a 23-pound turkey is barely enough to fit in the freezer bag.
Yeah.
35-pound, there's no way it's fitting in the bag.
You're wrapping it in saran wrap.
Right.
And we actually we ground it up.
Oh, did
Made-
you?
and
Okay.
made pasture-raised ground turkey.
That's
and
a good
it's
idea.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. Stir fry is like, that's one of my favorite meals.
Ooh, yeah.
Stir fry, egg drop soup,
Yeah.
fried rice. It's the best.
Yeah, I bet. So the setup seems very simple. You've got the netting, you've
Yeah.
got the shade,
It's
their food
crude.
and water.
But,
It seems so simple. Like Paul and I have gone over it time and time again trying to figure out, should we do turkeys? Should we not do turkeys? How do we house them? And this seems so simple. Is this working? Is this what you prefer?
Yes.
Yeah, this
Believe
is,
it or not, I don't
it is working
think,
good.
knock on wood, we've never had a death out
Wow.
here to date, and for 3 years doing it.
And you don't
But-
have any
so-
guards out here with them?
No.
No.
No LGDs here.
Yeah.
Or goose or
Or
anything?
goose, nope.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, we wait to release them to, the open air until they're a little bit bigger. But, it's, I think they, so it prevents the hawks, from getting them when they're a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Because that's our biggest predator here, would probably be the hawks for anything
And eagles.
open.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have eagles, yeah.
I think the bald eagles are more interested in the fish
Yeah.
in the pond.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I did see one. I was out there kind of guarding the chickens myself one time when I saw an eagle like in the top of the trees looking down because there's actually water behind all of those trees.
Okay.
And so that's where we get a little bit more wildlife here. We have issues with fox. Got a possum that was inside the chicken coop one time.
Yep.
So that was
not that long ago.
that was only about a couple weeks ago. So,
Oh, wow.
'cause we've had something getting the chickens when they were free ranging. So we have them inside their run right now.
Okay.
Just until we can figure out what is attacking them,
Well, we
like
know
broad
what it is.
daylight. Well, a fox, yeah.
It's a fox.
Yeah.
Yeah, broad daylight. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're in their run for now until we can figure out what's going on with that.
Right. No, for
or
sure.
until we can fix it.
So anyway, this is how you're raising your turkeys
Yes.
now.
Yeah,
And you've got how many in here?
31. And we'll move them weekly. That's what we're trying for.
Yeah.
I think when they get a little bit bigger, we're going to double our net or something and give them a
A little bit
bigger
more
area.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're
This was if you can see that on the camera, this was last week.
Oh yeah, the line's right here.
And then we moved them north.
And they went this way, so they'll go towards the road.
I think we'll move them one more time north before we come back, because I like them being near the house when we butcher.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. You don't want to be hauling these things.
We've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
That one.
Remember seeing him with this huge tom.
That first
back.
year, and I mean, so
We learned a lot.
what do they say? A turkey's dressed is 70% dead, or hang weight is 70% alive weight.
Yeah, I feel you.
So I'm carrying like a 50-pound turkey from the telephone pole all the way back to butcher, and
Oh man.
like Popeye arms.
So you said the first year you went to a processor, but then you talked about processing yourself. So are you still
Actually,
using a
we've-
processor?
We've only
Yeah.
ever done processing ourselves
Until this
here on
past
the
year.
farm until this
Okay.
year.
Okay, why?
So we-
Why did you change?
We really only changed so that we could sell it
Okay.
at farmers markets.
Yeah, I mean, we still do our home processing for a majority of our birds. It's just for that bit that we were taking to the farmer's market. That's the only one that we had processed elsewhere. We had to
Gotcha.
drive over an hour.
Yeah, chicken
To get
processors
that.
are hard to
The
find.
closest USDA is an hour and 30 minutes. from
Does
here.
it have to be USDA in Ohio?
It has to be at least ODA
Okay.
But
certified.
there's even fewer of those.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just like it has to. So like if it's only ODA certified for both processing and slaughtering. So if we were wanting to take it across border, like into Indiana, like at the Fort Wayne Farmers Market,
Oh, yeah.
looked into, then it would have to be a USDA
Yeah. Okay.
certified.
Gotcha.
So there's ODA and USDA.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Well, let's walk back this way. So you just mentioned like going to the farmer's market. So Katrina, you said before that you wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and a homesteader, and now you guys are selling some of your products. So what created the demand to start selling?
Well, we had a lot of people tell us like, well, if anything bad happens in the world, I'll know where to go.
And you're like, oh wait,
It's like,
that's not what I meant.
Right? It's like, I don't have enough for everyone. I will definitely help out, but
Right.
I can't supply everyone that has told me that. So
We have had many comments about that. When I show people at work or whatever what we're doing, they're always like, I know where I'm going to come when the fit hits the shan.
And you're like, no, don't actually.
No, please don't.
Okay, so you started having people say, basically, I like what you're doing.
yeah.
And you were like, maybe we should sell this?
Yeah, it was that, and I think with COVID and everything that was going on, we had, I guess we were minority, majority, whatever, depending on what news source you would listen to. But, we weren't a fan with what the government was trying to push and with what his workplace was trying to push him to do. And it's like, why are we letting ourselves be held by handcuffs? No, we didn't, that did not settle well. And with being forced to mask up, like that was having an effect on him and mentally. And so
I think
hopefully it's okay
I think I've never been more sick that often.
Yeah, so, it's one like, well, let's, this is our passion. We would love to do this. Why not just try it?
Yeah.
Try starting to sell it and see where that leads.
Yeah.
We don't need to, we're trying not to like grow outside of our means because it's, we don't want to take the focus away from the family. You don't want to be running around so much that you lose that time with your kids. And, that's where that whole instance in January kind of, was a light bulb moment for me, even though my mom had been trying to tell me, you need to slow down, you need to slow down. And of course, God had to kick me down to.
In January, you mean when you had to have surgery?
Yes. Yeah, when I had to have surgery, it forced me to slow down and to really, think like, okay, this, I don't want to push us too fast, because when this really grows, Mike's going to be the one to do most of the work because I have to make sure I focus on the kids and homeschooling them because that's where I feel called to do. And, that's, I'm his support. That's kind of our mentality. The man's the head, the woman's the helper, which, I mean, we help each other out, but.
The man's the head, the woman's the neck. It
Right.
turns the head where it wants to go, or where she wants to go.
I would agree with that.
That's what I've always
I'm just
heard.
your kite. I'm just your kite.
I totally feel with what you're saying because that's where Paul and I were. As we were like, wait, what are we actually doing this for? And when we realized that we weren't ever eating the fillets off of our beef.
Yeah.
Something was wrong.
Right.
They were like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, we are the ones breaking our back and our neck to get these animals to where they are, and we aren't even eating the best part of it.
Yeah.
Like, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the pigs. Like, we sold almost all the bacon last year.
Yeah.
And got to enjoy minimal.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you get so into wanting to grow that you forget that you really need to grow your family
Yeah.
and the
And you
closeness.
need to take care of yourself first,
Yeah.
I think.
I love that you guys have figured that out now, and that you didn't have like the crisis that Paul and I had where we were like, you know what, we're done, sell it all, let's move on. And I'm glad that we did that, because the things we've learned is amazing, but it's still, I love that you've learned that. So you said mention the pigs and the bacon. So we're at the pigs.
Yep.
And I'm walking around and I see, are those broccoli heads? Did you plant this with something?
This is a
Yes.
pig forage mix we ran across.
Okay.
I think they're either radishes or peas, some sort of
So
pea.
I'm gonna get
We
a
have both,
good
yeah.
shot of these, because I feel like this is,
So you can, if you look up in this taller stuff, this has been growing for several weeks now.
this over here.
Yeah, so that's their next move, probably
Okay.
tomorrow. As you know, you've had pigs, they're very destructive.
Can be, depending on how you manage them, right?
Yes,
Yes.
Yep.
yes. And sometimes
Yeah.
we go longer than the week because
Right.
we're busy.
Right, no.
And they let us know.
Yeah, they start yelling at you.
Yeah.
So what kind of pigs do you have out here?
So we have a 100% Berkshire sow
Okay.
that we've AI'd with Durox.
Oh, okay.
2 years in a row now. So I call them Berk Rocks.
Ah, I like it.
So we have a red pig with black spots.
I like it. Now, okay, that's
they're-
interesting that you AI. I haven't heard of homesteaders using AI. Talk me through your process on that.
It's so hard to find a boar around here, and I don't really want to keep a boar
Yeah.
because that's a whole nother. It's like keeping a bull, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have a lot of cows for the bull, it
Use
doesn't
them
really-
once every
It doesn't
couple
really
times.
make a whole lot of sense to
Right.
feed an animal.
Right.
And really with AI, I learned on YouTube. I watched a couple videos and
It's
had-
pretty easy,
and
right?
had success 2
Yeah.
years in a row. So
That's awesome.
last year when I AI'd, she birthed 8. The runt died unfortunately a month in. This year she had 11 and none of them have died. So we did learn something from last year
Okay.
about our management. There's only 9 here. We sold 2 of them and recouped a little bit of money. And to me, our land is not big enough or set up enough to keep more than, I mean, this is max.
More
for
than
us.
one litter.
This is, oh
Yeah.
yeah, we can't, I would not do 2 in a
Yeah.
year. But this is even, I think, almost too much for what we have.
Okay.
Yeah. We're
Is-
still definitely fine tuning this side.
Oh yeah. So they look great. So you planted the fields with that mix. Are
Yep.
you feeding them grain as well?
Absolutely. And it's a non-GMO mix from Greenville, Ohio.
Okay.
Kraut Creek
Okay.
Natural Feed Company. Big
Yeah.
shout out to them.
Yeah.
Their owner Jason is the one that sold us the sow, so
Yeah.
we know these pigs come from a pretty good bloodline too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot of research into the meat quality that he was breeding and make sure that they were just, good for breeding as well as the meat and good temperament. We'd never put our mama pig in a farrowing crate. So
Okay.
it was all open.
Yeah.
She's been great.
So then talk to me a little bit about the financial side of it. So Mike, you're still at work full time.
I work full time
And-
as an engineer.
As an engineer, okay. And Katrina, you're on the farm the full time with
Yes.
5 kids and the farm.
Yep.
Is there a point where you want to come home full time and you need this to be a business, or like, how are you able to talk about that? Like, how does that
I
how does
think
that work?
about it every day,
Really?
and either we haven't found the right time to jump, or the timing hasn't been right, and
Yeah.
I get cold feet
Okay.
pretty easily
Yeah.
about it. There's a lot of things that I've worried about, and actually want to pick your brain
Yeah.
at some point in time, maybe
Sure.
after this conversation about it. But
Yeah.
like, you need insurance, right? We proved that this year, without a doubt, that we needed some
Yeah.
sort of health
Yeah.
insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
How does that work?
also, the steady income is huge. Like, a steady paycheck helps make a lot of this possible
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. At least possible without worrying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we don't worry a lot about
Right.
where we're going to get feed or if we can afford feed for the animals.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like we have different ideas, you know, from just watching other farmers, like, you know, doing the, you know, pre-ordering a CSA for a monthly box, then down payment, so you have that money for the feed. But, you know, there's, you know, how to go about, you know, advertising that to our community where this is a very predominant conventional area.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I think there's a lot more recognition.
There's some, not, I wouldn't say barrier to entry, but you know, most people haven't really bought into the movement.
The demand isn't really there.
Not
Yeah.
really.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
like
see
the
it.
market
I think if we
demand.
were closer to a city like Columbus, we'd have no trouble.
Right.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, like, I
But-
feel like, you know, the last few times I've been going out, so like I'm going to different areas. Like this morning I was at the Lima Farmers Market, which in the past we've only stuck to Ottawa. It's a town just north of here. And like I see it starting, but it's struggling to get traction a little bit. But when I was in Lima and I was at a historic barn tour and set up at a good friend's house, you know, I just sit and talk to the people, even though I knew I wouldn't be selling much at a historic barn tour because not many people have coolers.
Right.
But, you know, it's
Now,
getting out into
they're not
the
there to buy
area.
frozen chicken.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but you know, it's getting to a different area, talking to different people. Like my whole goal, even though like we don't have much chicken left to sell, and we really don't have, you know, the chickens are starting to lay less eggs. It's making those connections with people, talking to them, seeing what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And so many of them, like, well, I just started looking into it a couple years ago, and I see the benefit.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's there. It's starting. I just hope this economy will not completely tank, because
Yeah.
that's where, you know, people, like, I just worry because people will, like, the first thing they'll cut cost on is food for some reason. You know, it's like, it's not the next iPhone, you know?
Yeah.
You can put that on
but-
layaway.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, so we'll see how, you know, I'm not sure
Right.
yet. We haven't done that hardcore advertising just because we haven't needed to yet,
Right.
you know, which I think is good in hindsight, because we had a lot of things to figure out. We've learned a lot in the last couple of years, where I think if we would have quit the job right away and jumped in, we would have been struggling,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Yeah. No, I definitely, I mean, I see that, and I see that in a lot of people who do just jump in. And for some people, it was the right move and they're very successful. But for other people, it's not. And it's very painful to go through. And I think doing it slowly really like opens you up to it being a learning experience and an enjoyable experience. I know like the biggest question I had when we first set the road was, how do you avoid burnout? And a guy in Florida, he said, you stop making it make money, and then it'll stop being miserable. Or on the opposite side, if you force it to make money, you're going to be miserable. And that's exactly where Paul and I were. And just easing yourself into it, I think it's very helpful. But then you've got that desire where you're like,
We do have the drive.
but I want to be on the farm full time. I don't want to leave every
It
day.
goes back to
Yeah.
our family thing. You know,
Right.
I want to be here too, and not always at work, or
Right.
you know, I work full time there, and then I come home and I work basically another full time job. And
Right.
Yeah.
Springtime is better, right? You've had the winter to rest more or less,
Mm-hmm.
and then by about now, it's just like
It's exhausting in the fall.
chore time.
Yeah.
Everything's happening at once.
Right.
We're gonna have chickens to butcher in 4 weeks, and pigs go in the end of October, and
Yeah.
by about November, then it's
Yeah.
time to
We're going
rest
on a
again.
family vacation.
I love that. That is so important. I mean, I don't know how many farms I've been to that are like, you have to get off the farm.
Yes.
You have to get off the
Yes.
farm. You
And it's
can't just
tough.
be here
You're
24/7.
Yeah.
tied here pretty much.
Yeah.
Like it helps for us. We mentioned it earlier, but great community.
Mm-hmm.
We have 2 families with kids, and we're all around the same age, kids and
Nice.
the adults. And they came down and did the chores while she was in the hospital. And
Yeah.
if we go on vacation, they come down and do our chores now. Reciprocal, I can't say that word.
Reciprocally?
You do the same for them.
Yes, we do
Yes.
the same for them. And when they go on vacation, I'm down there helping them out. So it's really, you know, self-sufficiency is kind of a pipe dream in a way. Like it's really hard to attain full self-sufficiency.
I agree with
It's very,
that.
very tough. And a community sufficiency is much more easier to attain.
And that's how humans have evolved, right? Humans have not evolved over the last thousands and thousands and thousands of years by being an individual. They've been a community, and that's how humanity has grown and become itself. So
Right, I think, yeah, in this whole social media world, they think to connect people, but we've lost so much connection by being in social media.
yeah.
Like, you know, unfortunately, that's where we have to go for business. I find so many people find us on Facebook or find us, I don't know if people would find us on Instagram more if I did that, but I'm not good with stories. Like,
We're not content creators, so.
Right.
That's where I struggle. Like, I've had this post that I've been needing to put on for like weeks, and I'm like over analyzing it to the core. You know, I do best, you know, face to face. Oh yeah,
How
yeah.
social media has like tried to connect people, but I feel like everybody's becoming more disconnected.
Yeah, I mean, like even talking with people sometimes it takes a bit to start a conversation, like a real conversation.
Yeah.
It's tough to hold a conversation, and
It's awkward these days.
it really is.
Yeah.
So, how's your family?
So yeah, I mean that's part of like why I like going to the farmers markets or even places where I know I may not sell things, but I know I'll probably have a conversation there.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that's where we need to start
Yeah.
more. People just be okay talking about things. I know people don't like to talk about religion or politics, but for me, like I remember a post I had on
She's
Facebook.
polarizing, very polarizing.
It was like, it's hard, like people want to get to know the real you, but they don't want to talk about the deep stuff. You know, but that's where all the passions go. That's where that's all part of why we began.
Yeah.
Because of our religion and our politics, right?
Right.
So, you know, it's like if you want to get to know the real person, applies there. You know, if you want to get to know the real person, you got to be okay talking about the deep stuff.
Yeah.
And be okay to disagree. You know, it's okay to disagree. That's where, I mean, how long did it take our founding fathers to agree to break off from Great Britain? And they had to
They probably
compromise.
got cold feet a lot too.
They did.
I'm going to lose
sure
my
they did.
head if we get caught, you know?
Yeah. Right.
So it's one where you just talk about it, and it's okay to disagree.
Yeah.
And move on and still be friends, you know?
No, I love that. And so, yeah, and in the meantime, making your homestead work for you and for your family and really be what you need it to be and not necessarily what you think it needs to be for others, right? Like cultivating all of that. So I absolutely love that. So, yeah.
Like we've mentioned, first and foremost, this is for us. And then we get the opportunity to share it with others.
Yeah, I mean, I love hearing, you know, people's experience with our
How many
products
times
too.
have you heard people say, that was the best chicken ever?
Yeah.
And then I made broth out of the carcass, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the texture of the meat's different. Like
Or even
our pork chops.
Even we had neighbors over and served pork chops and steak next to each other, and the guy that raised the steak said the pork chop was better than the steak.
And that's a proud moment. Yeah, that's a proud moment.
It makes you feel really good. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm doing something right. This is I would say the better way, right?
Yeah.
The narrow road.
A narrow road, absolutely. I think
that is kind of how we got the name.
that is awesome. And what an amazing place to end, too. Thank you both so much for having me out here and having my family out here and showing me around and talking with me. I know we'll have tons to talk about off camera here in a second, but it was just so great to get to meet you guys and to just learn about what you're doing too. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. So I was really excited about this tour because we've done a lot of big farms, scalable farms, business farms, and that's not really what Paul and I want to do with ourselves. There's still tons of things to learn from them, right? I really want to see the homesteaders and the doing it for themselves farms, and it was not a disappointment at all. So much that I've learned here and agreed with, and just a wonderful conversation. It was great. It did not disappoint. So thank you for coming along with me, and we will see you at the next one.